It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of Friday the 13th, 2000, of October 2000, I should say. We got 5 movies here. A lot of them are not really all that great, except for maybe 1 or 2 of them. We'll get to them as we move along here, but let's go ahead and talk about our first movie that we have here, and that is Winona Ryder in the supernatural apocalyptic thriller Lost Souls.
Maya Larkin had uncovered an ancient evil.
They've contaminated you, Peter.
Now she's the only one who can stop its return. The time of transformation is here. What would have happened to me?
You are about to become the Antichrist.
Lost Souls, rated R. Start Friday, October 13th.
So you have a story here about a devout Catholic woman played by Winona Ryder who becomes convinced through the decoding of ciphers that a successful writer, played by Ben Chaplin, has been designated by Satan to become an Antichrist. A lot of notable names on this movie, not just with Winona Ryder, as well as the cast. It also includes Philip Baker Hall, Elias Koteas, and John Hurt, but this is produced by Meg Ryan. You would never think that a movie like this would have Meg Ryan's name attached to it in any way, shape, or form. But on top of that, this is actually the directorial debut of Janusz Kaminski. Now, you may not know that name at first, but you've definitely seen his work before. He's done a lot. He's basically been Steven Spielberg's cinematographer since Schindler's List. I mean, he's been the cinematographer for a number of different movies with his more recent work, stuff like The Fabelmans and West Side Story. He also did stuff for The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Like, he's a really good cinematographer, and for a directorial debut, you kind of wish he had something better than this, because, put it this way, this thing was supposed to be released a year prior in 1999. However, because you had End of Days and Stigmata, New Line Cinema basically decided to delay its release, and they moved it to February. And then they moved it because of Scream 3. Then they moved it to September. But then they put out the re-release of The Exorcist. So this got moved back 2 more weeks. And, yeah. If a movie's been sitting on a shelf for over a year, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be bad. Really, really bad. This is definitely a really bad movie. It's a waste of really good talent. It doesn't really have a whole lot to say. It's nothing extremely enjoyable. It's not even so bad it's good. It's just a boring movie. It's not interesting. It's not fun in any way, shape, or form. It's not scary. It has way too many names that should not be anywhere near a movie like this, and it's just a mess. It's a mess of a movie on so many different levels. I really don't think I need to say too much more about this one, because you probably forgot this movie even existed. But it did, and it came, and it went, and nobody really remembers it. So yeah, Lost Souls. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. And this next movie is probably not memorable either, but Tim Meadows in The Ladies' Man.
Take a bite out of your...
Leon Phelps has had more first dates than anyone.
They look plastic, but they smell real. Yeah.
Because when it comes to talking to women,
Hey, Kristen, it's Leon.
he doesn't have a clue.
It looked like somebody stole 2 fine hams and shoved them down the back of your dress.
The Ladies' Man.
Leon Phelps, and I've just done my nails.
And I'm going to be running away. Please don't be offended by it.
Rated R starts October 13th.
So this was notable for a number of different reasons, mostly because this was actually Tim Meadows' first major project after leaving Saturday Night Live in 2000, early 2000, and at that point he was the longest tenured person at the show before people like Daryl Hammond and Kenan Thompson eventually beat that record. But this is based off of one of his characters. You have Leon Phelps, who is the host of a radio call-in show in which he dispenses advice on the fine art of seduction, for which he seems to have quite a talent. Seeing that he's usually broke, nearly everything he says sounds crass and obvious. He possesses a fashion sense that would have made him good for the 1970s, but seems just plain freakish today. After finally going too far on a broadcast, he's fired, but receives a note from one of his former flames who wants him to come back to her and is willing to support him in high style. This sounds just fine with Leon, except she hasn't signed her name. And now Leon has to backtrack through the numerous conquests of the past to figure out who wants him to work his magic. Meanwhile, you have a group of husbands who have been cuckolded by Leon, led by Barney, played by Lee Evans, and Lance, played by Will Ferrell, who are hot on the trail. You also have Tiffany Thiessen, Karen Parsons as two of the ladies in Leon's life, Billy D. Williams as the ultra smooth proprietor of Lester's Straight Up Lounge. And when Superstar failed without having it start working fully on the script to make the comedy work, it's definitely the complete opposite here. When a lot of the comedy in this it's honestly really solid. And the more I think about it, honestly, this is probably one of the stronger SNL movies I've seen. I mean, it's not quite Blues Brothers, it's not quite Wayne's World, it's not quite Stewart Saves His Family, but it certainly beats the crap out of something like Superstar, which was really just a lackluster film. What makes it work is that it has a lot of really good, strong laughs. It uses that R rating to its full advantage. You got a great cast that can work the over-the-top material given to them, and a story that actually does work to the character's strength in general, and that we've come to know and love from the sketches, and it gives Tim Meadows a chance to really show what he can do as a leading actor. And I think a lot of that was definitely missing from something like Superstar and A Night at the Roxbury. And I mean, this is not a good movie by any means, but I think it's definitely a lot better than people give it credit for. It's just good, solid, silly fun. A lot of good hard laughs. The plot can get a little too ridiculous at times, and honestly, most of it is very over the top and intentionally silly, and I think that perfectly works for this movie in general. But unfortunately, the film didn't do so well. It kind of crashed and burned at the box office, but I was actually pretty surprised when I saw this again. I really was not expecting this to be as good as I thought it was, but I really found myself enjoying it. I mean, I thought it was a really funny movie. It does the character of Leon Phelps justice. It gives Tim Meadows a chance to really show what he could do as a leading actor. And I kind of wish it did well, because it really shows his potential as a leading actor and a leading comedic actor, and I think he really nails it here. I think he does a pretty good job with it. I think it works. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. You might be pretty surprised at how good it actually is. So yeah, that's The Ladies' Man. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Joan Allen in The Contender.
Vice President-designate Lane Hanson. We all have to understand, we're going to obliterate a life.
You were involved in a sexual deviance.
She was putting on a sex show.
What exactly happened that night?
She was very drunk.
It's nobody's business.
What is our business? Sometimes you can assassinate a leader. Oh my God! Without firing a shot.
We're both sticking to our guns. The difference is, mine are loaded.
The Contender, rated R, starts Friday, October 13th everywhere.
So not only do you have Joan Allen here, you have Gary Oldman, who is also the producer. We'll get to that in just a second, because there's an interesting story behind that. Jeff Bridges and Christian Slater. And you have a story here where you have a fictional United States president played by Jeff Bridges, and the events surrounding his appointment of a new vice president played by Joan Allen. The film was actually served as a response to the Monica Lewinsky scandal involving President Bill Clinton, which, of course, he got impeached for. And it then became the subject regarding alterations that displeased Ullman, who was the co-producer on here, even though Josh Allen, I'm thinking of the Buffalo Bills quarterback. Joan Allen was nominated for Best Actress, and Jeff Bridges was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars the following year. But the interesting story behind this is what happened behind the scenes. So basically what happened is that around the time the film came out, Gary Oldman, in an interview with Premiere Magazine, alleged that editing cuts were made due to the studio's Democratic leanings. And Oldman and his co-producer, Douglas Urbanski, I should say. Douglas Urbanski reportedly accused the Dreamworks studio and director Rob Lurie of editing the original film to make it more Democrat-based, mainly by making the Runyon character less sympathetic than they originally intended. There's been other interviews, however, where Ullman stated his criticisms were only directed at Lurie, and that the quote was bastardized kind of when reprinted on internet sources. Because the internet back then was nowhere near as where it is right now. But I digress. He went on to complain that his issue with the film was how it became progressively less ambiguous as the editing went on, specifically citing the music as a problem in turning it into a good film about good guys and bad guys. Roger Ebert stated that Oldman's denunciation of the film never happened, and quoted Urbanski as saying, "Oldman is the least political person I know," and taking credit for producing the film independently from Dreamworks, which eventually adopted it. So there was a little bit of a controversy when this movie came out, and I honestly don't remember too much about the movie, honestly. It's been a long time since I've seen it. And from what I remember from it, I thought it was just okay. I mean, I thought the performances overall carried the load pretty much. Joan Allen is Joan Allen. She'll usually give a really good performance. I mean, Jeff Bridges is going to be great usually whenever you put him in anything. So is Gary Oldman. Christian Slater is pretty good in here. William Peterson, Philip Baker Hall, Saul Rubinek, Sam Elliott. A really good cast overall here. but it doesn't really never leave that impact that makes me want to see it again after I watched it the first time. It's been years since I've seen this movie, but what I remember from it, I just thought it was okay. I don't think it really left too much of an impact, me personally, but I thought it was just fine for what it was. It could have been a lot better, probably, but from what I remember from it, I really did not find a whole lot. That made me want to say, I need to watch this again. I just remember watching it and just kind of like, it's fine for what it is, but again, nothing too significant, at least in my personal opinion, to really say that you need to check this out. If you want to see some good performances by Oldman, Allen, and Bridges, see it for that. But other than that, though, I wouldn't rush out to see this one anytime soon. Actually, know what I say about the next movie we have here? Robert Altman's Dr. T and the Women.
Every single woman I have ever met has got something special about her.
From acclaimed director Robert Altman.
Kate wants a divorce.
This is the first time I've ever seen you look so scared.
Richard Gere.
I'm trying to tell you what
These women are just
crazy.
They're different than any woman I've ever known.
Dr. T and the Women.
Bree Davis to see Dr. Travis? We're all here to see Dr. T.
Rated R.
So you have Richard Gere here playing a doctor, Dr. Sullivan Travis, who is a wealthy Dallas gynecologist for some of the wealthiest women in Texas, who finds his idealist life beginning to fall apart, starting with when his wife Kate, played by Goldie Hawn, suffers a nervous breakdown and is committed to the state mental hospital. Dr. T's eldest daughter, Dee Dee, who's played by, if I remember correctly, Kate Hudson, she's planning to go through with her approached wedding despite the secret that she's a lesbian and is romantically involved with her maid of honor, Marilyn, who's played by Liv Tyler. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so I'm trying to remember the names here. You have Dr. T's youngest daughter, Connie, played by Tara Reid, who is a conspiracy theorist freak who has her own agenda with everything, with his loyal secretary, Carolyn, played by Tory Boat, played by Shelley Long, who has romantic feelings for him, which are not mutual. His sister-in-law, Peggy, played by Laura Dern, meddles in every situation she encounters. Only one woman, golf instructor Bree, played by Helen Hunt, offers Dr. T any comfort of salvation. And those are just some of the many, many names in this movie. I mean, I didn't even touch on Farrah Fawcett being in this movie. Robert Hayes is also in here. You also have Janine Turner, Lee Grant, Sarah Shahi, who, of course, went on to go star in Paralegal. And it was a former Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, but there's a lot of good people in this movie, and it's Robert Altman. Robert Altman usually makes a lot of good, underrated gems. This one, not so much. I think this is one of those movies that's just kind of like, it's passable. It's nothing too significant. It's nothing too extravagant. It doesn't really tell much of a story, honestly, that really makes you want to go back to it. It's just kind of like, it feels like more of a showcase for these actors just to see what they can really do when they're paired up with a notable guy like Richard Gere. But other than that, though, the story doesn't really do anything to really make it stand out or anything. It gets really kind of bland by the end of it. Nobody really has anything in particular to really show what they can do, is what the purpose of this movie's existence is. It's just kind of like, it's there. It doesn't really do anything to really make me say that you should check it out. It's a movie that, like I said, I saw it years ago. I barely remember too much about it, honestly. It's one that I was just kind of like, I saw it, have no real intention of ever going back to seeing it again, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe this is actually more than an underrated gem for some people, but for me personally, I didn't see it. So, yeah, that's Dr. T and the Women. So, on to our last movie, and that is Billy Elliot.
Inside every one of us is a special talent waiting to come out. The trick is finding it.
Why don't you join in?
From the producers of 4 Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill,
Let's do football, not Bali.
comes a movie poised to sweep the world off its feet. If you're making up a 10 best list this year, you'll only need 9 more.
Go, Billy!
Billy Elliot, rated R. Now playing in select areas. Opens everywhere November 3rd.
So the story of Billy Elliot is that you have this working-class boy, played by Jamie Bell, who discovers a passion for ballet. His father objects based on negative stereotypes of male ballet dancers, and the story is that basically he's trying to prove everybody wrong, including his father, and it's probably easily the best movie of the entire weekend, and it's really hard not to see why. It is a nice coming-of-age story about this kid who finds something that he really finds himself getting invested in, and he's trying to prove to everybody that hey, there's a way I can do this without looking like a complete weirdo. I mean, he does show that he has the talent to do it, and I think the story does a very good job of handling it very well. You got great actors to work it. Jamie Bell, who of course we know later on wanted to star in King Kong, and he also was the voice of Tintin in Adventures of Tintin. But he shows a lot of acting potential in this movie, and he really makes it work here. You do buy into the chemistry between his father and him. Like, you really believe that father-son relationship. You have Julie Walters giving a good performance as his ballet teacher. The dancing's really good here, and you can see why this went on to become its own stage musical and its own phenomenon in its own right. It's a really good, well-made film. Directed by Stephen Daldry and produced by the same people that did Four Weddings and a Funeral. Stephen Daldry, of course, went on to make stuff like The Hours, The Reader. He actually did a musical version of this, the musical movie version of this. But it's a good film. I recommend it. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll have 3 more movies to look at, including Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley in the remake of Bedazzled, directed by Harold Ramis. Haley Joel Osment's follow-up to The Sixth Sense, along with Kevin Spacey and Helen Hunt, Pay It Forward, and Jackie Chan in The Legend of Drunken Master. So 3 films to look at next time. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.